Welcome to the beautiful city of Buenos Aires, where we just finished our ICANN 53 meeting. My name is Alexandra Dans and I'm the Head of Communication for Latin America and the Caribbean. I had the opportunity this morning to talk with Steve Crocker and Fadi Chehadé. Let's take a look. Steve, Fadi, welcome and thank you for taking the time to speak with us this morning.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Steve, let's start with you. 17 years ago, 1998, right here in Buenos Aires, the white paper discussions took place that led to a formation of ICANN. Do you see any parallels between that event and the historic time we're now in with the IANA Stewardship Transition?
Well, unfortunately, I was not actually here. I joined ICANN a couple of years later, but I know something about that process. This is, I think it's a very good question, because I think this is indeed related in two ways. The process is similar, enormous involvement from the community, massive involvement from the community. And the second relationship is that this is the matching process. That was the opening that led to the creation of ICANN. And as part of that whole process was an anticipation that this day would come when we are looking at having ICANN be independent of any government and be serving the entire globe. And so it's sort of the expected time. It's taken longer than anticipated, but it is exactly what, even though the timing is different, it is exactly what was expected.
How do you feel about the discussion that took place in Buenos Aires regarding this topic?
Very, very well. I believe the community once again showed its incredible focus, but also its ability to move all the stakeholders forward with success. We will remember that in Buenos Aires, all the chartering organizations for the cross-working group, for the naming community, have unanimously approved for the proposal to go to the ICG. And that's a huge milestone accomplished right here through the work of many, many people holed up in different rooms, including the tens of governments that were here to support this process. So that's a milestone that frankly moves the needle forward very well towards finishing our work in Dublin. And secondly, the cross-community working group that has been laboring very hard to come up with mechanisms that strengthen the accountability of ICANN has also had very substantive discussions here in Buenos Aires. Discussions that brought light to the various issues as well as the various opportunities we have to make ICANN more accountable. I want to repeat here, and this is very important, that myself, certainly Steve, all of the staff leaders, all of the board members of ICANN are deeply committed to make ICANN more accountable. We are an incredibly transparent and accountable organization today, and we are open to strengthen that and increase the focus on that in every possible way that would give assurance to the world, governments, businesses, technical people, all the people who care about a safe, stable, and secure internet. We want to give them assurance that the leaders of this organization are deeply committed to this accountability track. And we're moving very well towards completing that work as well.
Steve, if the IANA Stewardship Transition is accepted,
yes,
the proposal, how do you see the board's role evolving?
The board's role has been and will continue to be to oversee the performance of the staff, for one thing, a standard function of the board, and to be responsive to the community and to be attentive to what the community wants, but mainly to oversee that the processes that we have in place are adhered to and to see that they're working properly. That's been our role, and that will continue to be our role. If the proposal is accepted, then ICANN is to a certain extent more independent than it was, which reminds me that Fadi emphasized the acceptance of the proposal by the U.S. government, which is very important, and because that will permit the U.S. government to make the decision to release its relationship with us. But it's equally important, and I think this is maybe absolutely vital, and emphasizing the point that Fadi made subsequently, that we serve the community, and that it's the community that has to be satisfied with the performance of ICANN, and it has to be, of course, satisfied with the proposals and the adoption of the bylaws and the implementation of the bylaws that are there. So the board's role is to keep in mind the community's desires and intentions, to keep in mind the operation of ICANN as a observing its rules and observing our procedures, and to make sure that we're functioning effectively and efficiently, and of course with transparency and with complete accountability.
And Alex, if I could add to what Steve said, when he used the term community now, in the context of this transition, the community is not just our supporting organizations and advisory committees. For this transition, we view the community to include also our sister organizations, which are the IETF, which have a very pivotal and critical role in the protocol parameters, as well as the NRO and its 5 organs, the 5 regional internet registries, as well as all the top-level domain operators, many of the country code operators. Together, all of us, as a group of interconnected organizations that are bound by deep and common principles and mutual commitments, we together, this community, we're the ones preparing this proposal, and the board's commitment is to ensure that the whole community is with us as we finish this process.
Fadi, this week we had an historic announcement by the Indian government backing the multi-stakeholder model. How big of an influence does this have on other governments?
It's a huge influence. I cannot overemphasize the historic nature of India's announcement at an ICANN meeting, which also, by the way, is in itself interesting, that we now have geopolitical shifts happening at ICANN meetings, whereby, just like China did in June 2014 in London, and just like Brazil did in our work with them in late 2013 and early 2014, we now have India, the second largest internet user community in the world, with nearly 300 million users after China. A democratic society with deep IT and technology roots, standing up at an ICANN meeting and actually sending the world a transformative message that India, as a country, is now moving to embrace the role of the multi-stakeholder community and ICANN to actually shape internet governance for the future. This is momentous, and it actually changes in many ways the global dialogue, as India is a global leader and is a respected leader. And I want to publicly here, on the record, thank His Excellency Prime Minister Modi and His Excellency Minister Prasad, who spoke to us here on Monday, for their wisdom, for their decision, for their clarity of purpose, and for their embrace of ICANN fully, and of the multi-stakeholder model openly. This is important, and I think it will help us on the road to a thoughtful WSIS review this year that, if all goes well, should renew the mandate of the IGF and strengthen it as a place where the Internet Governance Forum continues the traditions of multi-stakeholder work, where we all come together to solve and address the growing issues beyond ICANN in the area of Internet governance.
Steve, how do you see it?
As Fadi said, India is extremely important, if only because it has a very large population and a huge internet population, but it also as a thought leader throughout the world. And in the history of geopolitical politics, has played a pivotal role in the middle. And its posture is viewed by many and will be followed by many. So I take great pleasure. This is a big moment. And we've had lots of interactions with India over the years. There's an enormous IT industry, of course. I've had the pleasure of traveling to India several times in the past more than 20 years. And have watched the extensive development there, and I couldn't be more pleased.
Alex, I want to add that India is not making as much of a shift as they're making a public engagement with us, because India is a very pluralistic and multi-stakeholder society in many ways already. So this is not, frankly, from an India standpoint, this is not a change of heart or a change of mind. India is rooted in pluralistic, democratic, open society governance. But what happened here is that India has now taken its global role in internet governance and the evolution of the governance of this great transnational resource, and have rooted it into this model and this community of stakeholders that are multi-stakeholder by nature.
Fadi, globalization has been a big part of your mandate. 2 years ago, the LAC region launched the LAC strategy to help fulfill that mandate. What progresses have you seen?
Great progress. First, geographically, we're more present in this area. The programs we built to serve the Latin America and Caribbean region came from the community through the great collaboration of all the institutions that serve the internet community in Latin America. We got together, we built a plan, and that strategy is moving forward very well. Here this week, we enjoyed the second Domain Name System Forum, DNS Forum, that brought many people together to help grow the DNS industry in Latin America. Another part of that strategy that is moving forward and being implemented. You yourself, Alex, being here, was part of that original strategy, that we add communications experts in the area, that you have raised the level of how we communicate in the languages and in the context of this beautiful region. So I'm delighted to see ICANN's progress, our presence at the Casa the Internet in Montevideo, which is superb, with all the other organizations. I think we should remember that the Latin American region has served in many ways as a beacon, as an example of collaborative work. Whether it's the CGI in Brazil, which shows how a country can bring its multi-stakeholders to lead the governance of their internet, or it is the Casa de Internet in Uruguay, which brings all the organizations under one roof to work together and advance the work of the community. Or frankly, our own transition, which started here. The discussion between the leaders of the technical community on transitioning ICANN started here in Latin America when we issued the historic Montevideo Statement, which then was followed with a visit to Dilma Rousseff and Net Mundial, and these are all things we remember. And of course, we're back to Buenos Aires to approve the CWG and announce the final road to the transition. So Latin America is very much a region that has accompanied us, helped us, and we will continue to invest here under the leadership of Rodrigo de la Parra and our team now here. We will continue to invest to make sure that we serve the community and we listen to them closely.
I want to add one very specific thing that is of great interest to me, and that is at this meeting, Argentina signed its DNS zone, added the DNS security, and that's a big step forward and helps nearly complete the map for Latin America in terms of adding security to the entire domain name system for the region. And so I was very pleased to see that milestone and very pleased that it took place in conjunction with this meeting here.
Muchas gracias, Steve. Muchas gracias, Fadi.
Gracias a ti.